Spoilers are everywhere. Carelessly thrown into trailers or stupidly revealed through tie-in merchandise, ruinous details can come unexpectedly from any source at any time. Where you might not expect a spoiler, however, is in the opening scene of a movie. But all of the following films subtly laid out pretty much everything you needed to know about their endings right from the off, but you probably just didn't notice. I'm Josh from Whatculture.com, and these are 7 movies that secretly give away the plot at the very start. Number 7, The World's End. The second bar crawl is identical to the first. Edgar Wright just loves his frenetically delivered foreshadowing, doesn't he? Following on from Ed's plan for tomorrow in Shaun of the Dead and the obscene amount of clues to the identity of Sanford's serial killer in Hot Fuzz's unbelievably tight script, the closing of the Three Flavors Cornetto trilogy dishes up his biggest slice of plot revealing yet, one that anyone familiar with Wright's work could easily have picked up on first viewing. That's because the film opens with a bar crawl the film's characters attempt in their youth, but it's doing far more than just injecting some nostalgia to later on events. Aside from providing a bunch of shots that are used to contrast the older gang against their younger selves, the actual beats of this teenage bar crawl are the same as the reluctant middle-aged one that drives the plot, only with more blue-blooded aliens along the way. Oman, for instance, is the first to leave feeling ill in the original crawl, and he is again later on. Only this time he's actually assimilated by the alien blanks, while Peter is left behind after they visit the park, and crucially, Gary never gets his final pint in the eponymous pub. Add to that the fact that each of the pub's names each nicely allude to the sci-fi events that take place within them, and it's a wonder that Wright had any time to work actual jokes into this movie, when this surely took ages to figure out. Like I said, Wright slips this kind of foreshadowing into all of his movies, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Which of the Cornetto trilogy is your favorite, and what do you want to see Edgar Wright do next? Another big franchise movie, or another team up with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost? Honestly, I'm greedy, so I kind of want both. Number 6, Mission Impossible. The opening credits are basically a spoilery trailer. Nowadays, Mission Impossible is so strongly linked with Tom Cruise that there's multiple generations of cinema goers that probably have no idea that it was originally a long-running 60s TV show, nor that one of the series' most memorable elements is still with the franchise today. And no, that's not an IMF agent climbing things, running a lot, and generally acting like a complete psychopath. We're talking about that spoiler-heavy opening. In this intro, a match lights a fuse and suddenly a flashy opening credits shows clips from further on in the movie, acting as almost a spoilerific trailer. And in the first film, it's really as blatant as you can get. If you're eagle-eyed, you can get a glimpse of most of the key action sequences, as well as learn that Jon Voight's going to survive the initial botched mission. And this just wasn't a mistake on the filmmaker's part or anything like that, but rather, it was constructed as a loving throwback to the original series. In a then groundbreaking move, each episode had different opening credits, scored, of course, to that iconic theme tune that showed moments from the upcoming episode kicked off by, yes, a match lighting a fuse. Essentially, think Game of Thrones' Westeros map with less polish and more plot reveals, and you have an idea of what it was like. Number 5, Titanic. It spoils the sinking, of course, but also Rose's romance. In terms of spoilers, Titanic's a bit of an odd one. Everyone knows the ship's going to sink, well, almost everyone, while the plot itself is your typical star-crossed lovers / class divide story. If you can believe it, this was the cause of much derision before release, and at first people actually expected the film to fail. Almost to show the audience that a shocking plot isn't the point, the film never once pretends that you don't know the eventual outcome. There's no other possible ending to Titanic than its sinking, and it actually works hard to reinforce that right from the beginning. As the film opens at the wreck, has Brock summarize the sinking on a TV report, and once old Rose arrives on the diving ship, we see a state-of-the-art computer rendition of the sinking itself, literally spelling out how things are going to go down later on. But James Cameron didn't stop with revealing the very obvious. He also made a point of Rose's last name post-sinking being Dawson, immediately telling you where her relationship with Jack is going to go, even if how she ultimately got the name is a little bit unconventional. Now, what's important to note is that no other version of Titanic had previously taken this knowing approach. Both the novel and film A Night to Remember treat it like an unfolding drama, but it's a key part of what turned Cameron's film into a successful epic rather than a 3-hour snooze fest. Number 4, Midsummer. The opening shot sums up the whole movie. Midsummer does not waste any time foreshadowing not only its ending, but its entire plot, using its very first image to show the audience a mural that will seem completely random until the flick is over. Hell, if you're like me, you'll probably immediately forget that this mural was ever even shown, considering Midsummer then shifts into its devastating prologue, which sees lead character Danny's family killed in a brutal murder-suicide. However, go back and pause the movie and analyze the images in this tapestry, and something will become clear: that it shows every major beat in the movie to come. Now, some of these, of course, need a little bit of interpretation. It's not like it says Mark dies in Act 2 in big felt-tip pen or anything, but it does reveal the rituals the gang will go through, how many will end up dead by the end, the deaths of Danny's parents, and, at the end, her ultimate fate. You'd never realize on first viewing, of course, but this kind of foreshadowing is present all the way throughout Midsummer, and proof of just how bloody well put together a film this cult horror is. Number 3, Total Recall. Every major plot point gets a sly nod. The Citizen Kane of revealing the plot in the opening, Total Recall throws out so much irrelevance to the later half of the film in the first 20 minutes that even rewatching it for the umpteenth time, there's still new stuff to pick up on. It's still open to debate whether Arnold Schwarzenegger's Doug Quaid is really awake or not throughout the film. There's just the right level of allusion to future events to make it impossible to know for sure whether what's happening is a dream or just extreme coincidence. Regardless of the truth though, as a narrative, Total Recall is peppered with clues as to what's going to happen later on. Obviously, there's the entire spiel Schwarzenegger's Doug Quaid gets at Recall. That he'll go to Mars, he'll be a secret agent, he'll meet a girl, and most memorably, there'll be blue skies. But the rant Dr. Edgemar, allegedly Recall's president, who's also allegedly entered the dream, gives also winds up being heavily prophetic. Doug's allegiance does indeed switch maniacally, and in a case of metaphor being taken rather literally, the walls literally come crashing down moments after he's killed the bad doctor. Number 2, The Prestige. The disappearing bird trick gives away both twists. At the end of The Prestige, it's revealed that Borden's magic trick, the transported man, is really achieved through the use of an identical twin, with whom he shares a double life as Borden and assistant Fallon. Pretty unexpected, right? Well, of course it is, although an eagle-eyed viewer could have figured it out much earlier. Not only is it exactly what Michael Caine's character Cutter said the method would be, a similar trick was also done at the very start of the film to create the illusion of a canary disappearing, then magically reappearing. And that's not to mention the constant lines of dialogue about Borden's near-split personality. That's not the only last-minute reveal of the film that those canaries are giving away, though. In a second, more sickening rug pull, we learn Angier pulled off his, if anything more impressive, copycat version of the transported man by killing and copying himself every night, with the help of some Tesla science. And that is exactly the same morbid truth behind the bird trick, because to achieve it, one of the birds had to be killed. Number 1, No Time to Die. Bond visits his own grave. Now, this is foreshadowing that went over so many people's heads that it actually was only revealed by the director of No Time to Die himself. That being, of course, Cary Joji Fukunaga. The final entry into Daniel Craig's James Bond run ended with 007 himself being blown to smithereens, robbed of a nice retirement, and paying the ultimate sacrifice to, once again, save the world. It was a huge shock that they actually went through with it though, after many months of online discussion as to whether or not the producers would even allow it. But of course, if you were looking very closely in the opening scene, you might have seen this coming a mile off. That's because in an interview with Variety, as reported by Games Radar, the director of No Time to Die confirmed that he snuck in a little nod towards Bond's fate when he visits the grave of former love interest Vesper. In the interview, he says, quote, "Over Vesper's grave, we never really make a big deal of it, there's no focus on it, but for anyone who goes back, 2 skeletons are holding up a banner carved in stone. It's a Latin phrase that I had seen in the main basilica where the bridge is located. The phrase says, quote, 'What you are, I once was, and what I am, he will become. So it was written in the beginning,' end quote." So there you have it. Watch No Time to Die again and be unnerved by the fact that Bond is kind of literally seeing his own death in this opening scene.